Welcome to the kitchen of chaos.
Today we are making roasted red potatoes with some onions and broiled salmon. And what we're going to do with these potatoes is just, after they've been washed, these are just red potatoes, we're going to quarter them. If they're too big, we're going to go again. So that's probably too big. You want them to be like a large bite size. So these big ones, these ones are pretty big. I'm about eight of these guys. And if they're bigger than that, we'll just try to make them all about this size. So what's that? About an inch and a half maybe. That's about how you want them. And I'm going to do a bunch of these potatoes and some red onions, because that's what we have today. And we'll get those in the oven at 425 with some lemon juice, salt, and pepper, and then we'll get the salmon going. The salmon is the last thing you do because it only takes about 10 minutes to broil. So we'll do that and check back in about 5 minutes when I'm done with these. Let's see here. Hopefully you can see that. This is the discrepancy between the baby tomato and the papa potato. In some of these bags that are bulk, they don't really size them properly. So that's what you're going to have to deal with some of them, is one that looks like this and one that looks like this. So this one you can just cut it in half and cut it in half again. And then this one you're going to probably have to dissect it in many ways. So cut it into thirds about, and then go big chunks this way. You want them to be just about the same thickness and the same cross section so that they get done at the same time. But when you're roasting them, it's not super important that they're all the same size, because if some get more done than the others, that just means they get kind of crispy and good. So as long as they're relatively about the same size, that's all that matters. So I'm going to keep doing these, and the onion's about the same size too. No one, come over here. What are you doing? If you're no one, how can you be someone? Someone like Barrack or something? Can I cut the eyes out if they're like starting to mold or whatever? Just basically cut any parts that you don't like. I'm talking to my invisible friends. This kind of stuff. Alright. You're invisible? Let's see. There you are. Okay, for these onions, if you want them to fall apart easily, and without slicing them a lot, you can just slice them like this, straight across, which is sort of with the grain. If you want them to stick together in larger chunks for roasting, you can cut it in half this way, and then cut it with the grain like this into sort of wedges, and then they seem to have a better chance of staying together in larger chunks, kind of like this one, after you stir it up and whatever. But they fall apart a little bit anyway, but that's alright. So I just cut it like that, and then sort of like that. Kind of like you're sectioning an orange or something. No. I know you're a good cameraman. You're a better cameraman than I am, but I don't particularly want people to look at me. It's not very appetizing. So what we have here is some potatoes and onions.
Ah, it smells so good.
And will you get the olive oil out of, I think it's in here. Maybe in there. Check in there. No. Try again. Maybe over here. Here we go. So just olive oil and let's see, what we have. So this is a lot of potatoes, so you want quite a bit of olive oil. And let's see, lemon pepper is good.
Oh.
Lemon pepper's good, seasoned salt's good, salt and pepper is good. But lemon pepper I like because it has kind of adds sort of acidic tang to it, which counteracts the saltiness and the kind of brings out the sweetness of the potatoes and onions. So that will do that. Lemon pepper and olive oil, stir that up, and then put it on a tray. Alright, so this is too heavy for me. So you want them to be in one layer. You can do it with more, but if it's in one layer, they cook more evenly and they get done quicker. And they get more kind of caramelized and toasty and flavorful. Otherwise, they kind of just steam, which is okay too. If you want to do a lot for a lot of people, then you can just pile them on and just cook them at a lower temperature for a longer period of time. This is for probably this will feed 30 people or so as a side dish. Roasted vegetables are really good. You can do any kind of herbs on them you want, and they always kind of taste like you've spent a lot more time on them than you have. They're really easy to do, but so whenever you roast vegetables, people think you really spent a lot of time on your dinner. So they're good. So these are going in a 425 oven. I think I'm not going to do it on convection today because I'd have a little bit of time to play with. If I was in a hurry, I'd put it on convection for about 20-25 minutes and then flip them. But I'm just going to put them in 425 on the regular because I have about 45 minutes. These will get nice and done by then. And then we're going to broil the salmon in that. And the oven's all going to be hot. So next we're going to talk about salmon. Okay, so this is the salmon we're going to be doing today. This is from Costco, and it's farmed Atlantic salmon, which means that it somewhat resembles salmon flavor. It doesn't really taste like fresh, wild-caught, line-caught salmon or river salmon or anything like that. So this is a substitute for when you don't have anything else or when you're too poor to buy $25 a pound wild-caught salmon, which tastes a lot better, but it has a lot less fat in it. This is very fatty, and it's huge and thick. So it's giant, and it kind of just pulls apart. See how tender it is? It's sort of just falling apart. Sort of makes me wonder where it really came from. And it's also got coloring in it. But this doesn't have skin on it. They skin it for you. So if you have some with skin on them, you can either just put it in the pan with the skin on the bottom, and then when it's done, you can just kind of break it off, and it'll just come away from the skin. Or if you don't want it to have the skin on there at all, you can throw it in a hot pan for 10 seconds in a really hot pan with a little bit of oil, the skin side down, and the skin will just peel right off. So that's one trick that you can do if you're using a fillet with skin on it. So this somewhat resembles salmon flavor. It's mostly just protein flavor, but people who don't like fish, who say they don't like fish, like this stuff. So it's good to have for large groups or whatever. And you put salt and pepper and lemon on anything, it's going to taste pretty good. So, and it's easy to work with, and it's like I said, it's very fatty. So if you overcook it a little bit, it's still going to be good. Another thing about salmon is that you don't want to overcook it. It's best raw, actually, like most fish. But if you cook it, make sure you only cook it to about medium rare, and then while it sits and warms up, it will, as it cools off, the heat from the outside will sort of cook through the middle, and it will be slightly translucent in the very center is what you really want. So it'll still be juicy, but it will still break apart easily. So these are just going on some trays, and I took them out now to let them come up to room temperature a little bit. They've been in the fridge, of course. And you don't want to just put ice cold meat in the broiler, or for a steak you also want to do the same thing. You want to let them come to room temperature before you cook them.